All right, we are back, and again, John. Good morning, John
morning.
Doherty, long time columnist for the Times in Northwest Indiana, a sports medicine expert, and
So they say.
Well, before we even get to that, I want to mention something that you'll understand because you've also been involved in the community for many years, and I would be remiss if I don't point out and do a quick plug for the Whiting Knights of Columbus, which I've been a lifelong member
wonderful.
of. And that is that KFC Bingo at Whiting Knights of Columbus is coming back this coming Monday, September 8th. They've been kind of out of the game for a while. They're back in operation. Next Monday, folks, line up early. Go to 119th Street and Atchison Avenue. It's the Whiting Knights of Columbus. Bingo is back.
All right.
And so I want to get that a push. I think the doors officially open. They start games, I think, at 5, but the doors open usually at 4.
Okay.
And I've worked it before, and it's kind of fun because you have people showing up at 3:30 and they're standing in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But Whiting Knights of Columbus Bingo is back, folks. So make sure you mark it down. We'll mention it a few more times. But how are you?
Terrific. How are you?
Good. How was your holiday weekend?
Too quick, but and then of course had to watch my Fighting Irish come up a little short against the Miami Hurricanes.
They did, and I heard that from my son, another Notre Dame fan. He watched the game with some friends. I went with my wife to the Whiting Symphony Orchestra concert. It's a tradition for us to go on Labor Day weekend, and after the fireworks, we got home in time to see the last quarter, and my son's comment was, you're not really missing anything because his last quarter is when everything pretty much transpired, at least for the Irish.
Yeah, most of the good things that happened in the last quarter, except for their very last drive. When your two best players carry the ball 16 times, you're not going to have a whole lot of success.
Yeah, and he said also that the new quarterback actually looks pretty good.
He looked pretty good.
So
but earlier in the game, he needed to be giving the ball to his two running backs, and he wasn't. So.
Yep, that's exactly what Tom said. So there you have the recap. They're not out of it. It was close. It was close. It was right down to the last couple of seconds, and it's a long season, so we'll see how they do.
The things that didn't go well, I think, are fixable. We'll see. Of course, they have a big one in 2 weeks against Texas A&M. They have a bye this week. So.
Yeah, they do. They're playing some pretty tough teams at the beginning of the schedule. I mean, Miami and then Texas A&M.
Texas A&M, and then they have Boise State, and then they go to Arkansas. Purdue's in the middle of that, but yeah, that's their four of their first 5.
Purdue. I don't know. It's going to be a while before Purdue's football program is resurrected, but there's always hope.
There is hope, yes.
Yeah, and I'm a White Sox fan, so I understand what hope is.
Right.
So let's talk about your latest column.
I interviewed John Bobolik from Purdue Northwest. You know John.
Yes, I do.
Ran the fitness center at Purdue Northwest for nearly 30 years and is still there as a fitness instructor. And we talked about the importance of strength training and exercise in general, but how important it is to build muscle to preserve quality of life. As John put it, you want to be able to get out of a chair, get out of a car, and carry your groceries. And if you don't strength train, his fear is, and the data backs John up, is that you get into your 70s and the next thing you know, you're in a nursing home. Whereas if you strength train, as he put it, and I would agree with him, your 70s and 80s actually could be like your 50s and 60s.
Yeah, and of course, for a guy that just turned 65, it's a concern of mine. And I go about 3 times a week to the Whiting YMCA and do some strength training now.
Right.
And I'm not trying to work out and see how much I can lift anymore. It's all about repetitions and it's about that resistance. But again, I'm not looking to build muscle where I'm going to be the
like
best
Arnold.
looking guy. Yeah, I'm not trying to be the best looking guy on the beach, but I'm trying to build that muscle and that strength to protect myself from falls.
Protect yourself from falls. The other thing it protects you from, that I think that people don't understand is, and John touched on it briefly when I interviewed him, is muscle is constantly active tissue. Even if you're sleeping, your muscles are chewing up calories.
Really?
Fat doesn't do that. When you're sleeping, fat does nothing. But when you're sleeping, muscle requires energy even while you're sleeping. So it's chewing up sugar, and it's quite literally protecting you from muscle protects you from diabetes.
Wow, I didn't know that at all. So when you're sleeping, your muscles basically are still burning up energy,
Yes.
and that it makes a lot of sense. Again, I see a number of people in my age group at the YMCA, but it seems like there are an awful lot of people who kind of swear off that type of workout. They'll say, "Well, I ride my bike, Tom. I do walks. I do those things." But
those are better than nothing.
Right? But you need to have this balanced approach.
You need to be doing strength training and aerobic training both. And actually, another thing that's not understood about strength training is strength training protects your heart. I may have mentioned this in a previous visit with you, Tom. Maybe I didn't. But a number of years ago, Harvard did a study. I don't know why they picked Indiana firefighters, but they studied Indiana firefighters from all over the state, and they looked at their ability to do push-ups. And they found that the firefighters who could do 40 push-ups quite essentially eliminated their chance of having a heart attack.
Really?
Yes. It crossed age groups too. It wasn't just true. The 30-year-old firefighters, there were more of those that could do 40 push-ups than the 55-year-old firefighters. But the 55 to 60-year-old firefighters that could do 40 push-ups, they weren't getting heart attacks either.
So, John, I mean, you're an expert. Can you talk people through that are listening? They're in their 50s, they're in their 60s, they're in their 70s. What are the kinds of things that they should be doing? And talk a little bit too about, as we joked before, you don't have to be. You're not trying to be Arnold Schwarzenegger when you're lifting weights, but talk them through what kind of program, what kind of conditioning should they be looking at?
Well, John put it well in the column. If you don't know what to do, you should get a personal trainer. Personal trainers cost money. You don't have to stay with a personal trainer forever. The personal trainer gets you started. You understand what kind of progress you can make and how to progress from the personal trainer. And once you feel comfortable with that, you can go it on your own. Now there are people, obviously, that even for a brief amount of time, a personal trainer or a gym membership is outside of their budget. There is plenty you can do at home, and there are numerous resources online or at the library that will tell you how to exercise.
And there are also these so-called e-machines, these e-machine systems. For example, the YMCA, my wife has a wristband, and it tells her how many reps she's doing, and she loves that. And it keeps track basically for you.
It will, yeah.
So
when you go to the Y in Hammond, when you go to Fitness Point in Munster, they have machines that track exactly what you're doing. They track how long you're on the bike. They track how many repetitions you do of a particular exercise, and you can make input yourself to some of these programs and track how much you're increasing, how much weight you're doing.
Is there, and I hear this all the time, so I'm going to ask you, is there a risk or a danger also, though, of overdoing it?
Absolutely. And you talked about bodybuilding and serious weightlifters, strength trainers who are trying to get a particular 1 rep max, where they're doing the maximum amount of weight that they can push up or pull down in 1 rep, and it's all out effort on 1 repetition. That's not what people our age should be doing. We should be aiming to do a number of repetitions for a particular weight lift technique, whether it's bench press or pull down or leg press, leg curl, but you should be looking to do 8 to 12 reps. If you can do it 8 times, it's not too much weight. If you can do it 12, 15 times, then it's time to bump the weight up.
I know of an individual who a couple of years ago told me that he blew out his bicep, his right bicep muscles. He took a 10-pound weight, and he was at work and he just started curling the weight, but he did it all day.
All day, yeah.
Okay, and so
tendons do wear out.
yeah, and that's my point. I mean, you it's a balance, right? I mean, you want the resistance, you want the repetitions, but you don't want to go crazy like in his case where he just sat there all day long and just lifted this 10-pound weight and literally, as you said, wore out his arm. I mean, wore out the muscles and blew out his bicep.
Tendon will tear if you overuse it. We tend to see it more in the Achilles tendon. You see it with the quadriceps tendon and the patellar tendon in professional athletes. I'll tell you where you see it with biceps tendon more often than somebody who did too many reps over the course of a day, but trying to lift too much on one repetition. And the best examples, I can't tell you the number of people, guys our age and a little younger, who told me they tore their biceps tendon because a garage door let go and they tried to catch it.
Oh.
And
yeah, that would make sense.
Gets them every time that the biceps tendon just lets go.
And again, you do things in moderation, folks, but you need to do it. The number of, again, I go to the Whiting YMCA. It's nearby. It's convenient for me. My son says you're missing out on an amazing place, the Hammond YMCA. He goes there to work out. I think my brother does as well. And it's great facilities.
No, it's a super facility.
I like the convenience of the Whiting Y, and but when I look around, I don't see enough people my age. I see lots of teenagers, lots of 20-some-year-olds and 30-some-year-olds. You don't see a lot of people in their late 50s, 60s, and 70s they're out there working out, and they need to.
They do, yes. I will tell you at Fitness Point in Munster, you do see a large percentage of individuals in their 50s, 60s, 70s, even in their 80s. And the key, though, is to start early, because what you're trying to fight, no matter where you are, whether you're at Fitness Point or you're at the Y in Hammond or the Y in Whiting, you're trying to fight something called sarcopenia. And sarco means muscle, penia means wasting away. And as we age, sarcopenia is a natural process. However, you can put it off and really stall it for quite some time by strength training.
So I'm going to ask a question, and it's very personal. When Donna and I go down to Florida, our Y membership allows us to go to any Y.
Sure.
But the Y is about 10 miles away. It's the most inconvenient thing about Florida is that there's not a nearby Y. Now, we ride our bikes far more down there than we do here. We ride all over the place. So, and we do a lot of walking. But I'm told that, a 3-month lapse in working out with weights, for example, is a real mistake, that you actually can do a lot more damage to your muscles than you can imagine.
Well, you stop strength training and your muscles start to atrophy. So, and 3 months later, you really almost, not quite, but it's a 3-month lapse, obviously not nearly as bad as, say, a couple of year lapse, but you almost have to start over again. And be careful when you get back into it. Of course, if the Y or any other health club isn't nearby, there are things you can do wherever you are, just working against your own body weight, including, as I was mentioning earlier, push-ups.
So, Lynette's been reading the weather this morning, and she's been reporting on the fact that it's going to get cold the next few days.
Right.
Okay, and it doesn't look like it's going to be getting warm anytime soon either. It looks like we're getting that transition to fall. When we were on a few months ago, we talked about the transition to the warm weather and the dangers of heat stroke and heat exhaustion. But I understand that there's some dangers as well if you don't acclimate your body to when we change into cold weather. Is that true? Is it?
Oh, not? Sure it is. Your body, quite literally, the blood has to thicken up to get used to the cold weather if you're spending a lot of time outside. So when you start, you suddenly get into a colder environment, you need to be careful. And while you're exercising and you're sweating cools you off. So you can get into a hypothermic, meaning your body temperature is too low. You can get into a hypothermic situation almost as easily as you can get into a hyperthermic situation where we're worried about heat stroke. So you do need to be careful in colder weather where it's well below freezing.
And I think one of the most difficult things for me personally, and I know for a lot of people, is you go to, whether it's high school sports or college sports or even professional sports, especially football, you're sitting there for a couple hours and not taking the time to dress properly for the weather, for making sure that you have that that seat cushion, which is more than just to make for a comfortable seat. It also protects you from the cold of the metal that you're sitting on.
Right.
I mean, those are all factors that you have to consider,
Right.
especially as you get older.
And the one thing you don't want to do when you're out at a sporting event where it's particularly cold is to drink alcohol. And the problem with alcohol is you take a drink of alcohol, that causes the blood vessels in your skin to relax, and more blood can get to your skin. So blood coming from your core, it makes you feel warmer. You think you're warmer when actually you're cooling off.
Yeah, that's and you're right. That's another consideration. But to me, I just have a hard time believing that after this really warm summer. I mean, we had a really
Yes, we did.
terrific summer, and I mean that all of a sudden now it's going to transition to fall. And we're not going to have that respite back to summer again.
You need to
like we
you
usually
need to get
do.
down to Florida then. So.
Well, I might have to. That's actually in the plan. So, but to me, it's hard to believe that we're going to go through another seasonal change. But nonetheless, people, I see a lot of people who go to a fitness center, and I think there's not only a reluctance, but almost an intimidation.
When you first go in, yes.
Yeah, you don't know. You're not sure what to do. You're not sure when to do it, how much to do it. But as you said before, it's not that hard. You need to find that point where there's some resistance.
Right.
You're not able to sit there and do 15 reps, as you said.
Right.
But at the same time, you want to be able to do a healthy number of reps. You said somewhere around 8 to 10.
As I said, if you can lift it 8 times, it's not too heavy. If you can lift it more than 12 times, it may be too light. So that's kind of your sweet spot between 8 and 12 reps, and that's how you gradually. Okay, you start and you can barely lift it 8 times, but 3 weeks later, now you can lift it 12, 13, 14 times. Now it's time to bump the weight up a little bit.
Let's switch to athletics, and especially high school athletics. So you've got a lot of players out there, for example, playing football right now, and even though it's going to be cool, that doesn't mean that they back off on the hydration.
Right.
And
they need to. You can still become dehydrated fairly quickly in football, soccer, cross country, even if it's not warm out.
Yeah, and again, it's fun to watch your kids and the neighbors' kids and whoever play in high school sports, but those athletes sometimes put themselves to the limit. They push themselves to the limit, which on the one hand is great if you're watching the game, but if they're not prepared, it can have some really devastating responses.
It can, and the thing coaches, parents too, but coaches need to keep in mind, more than half of your athletes when they show up to practice are probably dehydrated every day. So it falls upon the coaches to make sure their kids get hydrated before they hit the field or the basketball court or the hockey rink or the soccer field or the cross-country course. Half of your kids at least are starting practice probably dehydrated.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, the average consumption for water for a whether they're a teenager or an adult is how much water a day are we supposed to consume?
8 8-ounce glasses.
Yeah, I mean that's it. It sounds like a lot, folks, and it is, but
it's over the course of a day.
Right, it's over the course of a day, and in fact, I went for my annual physical the other day, and so my doctor said, "Well," he said, "we need to take a look at your your medical history for the past year, and he does the exam, and he smiled and he said, well, he said, it's some good news. You're drinking water. And I said, well, yes, because of the AFib. And he said, yes, and
Yeah.
and I said, yes, I know the kidney stones as well. And he said, if people would just drink water, they probably wouldn't have kidney stones. And he said, he said, Tom, if I were putting together a marketing campaign and I needed the poster child for the campaign to drink water and not have kidney stones, he said, your face would be all over the poster. So, I mean, it's a known fact. I have had, oh my gosh, I think 6 now episodes of kidney stones over the years. And
those hurt.
They hurt. And why? He posed the question. He said, why would you want to put yourself through that? And he said, all you have to do is drink a couple of extra glasses of water a day, and you pretty much, he said, with the exception of a few situations, a few specific medical situations, you can avoid kidney stones. And he sat there, and he's a really nice guy, and said, Tom, I can't understand with the immense amount of pain that you've been in over the years with kidney stones, why you would want to do that to yourself. And he just looked at me, and of course, I'm defenseless. I have no answers to his comment because I know better.
Right.
And as we've talked before, my AFib has largely been caused by dehydration. And
yes,
and
that'll trigger it.
Yes, and once your heart basically learns to act in an irrational, erratic fashion, it does it basically more and more on its own.
Right.
But to avoid AFib and to avoid kidney stones, all I had to do was drink water. So shame on me.
Sounds like you've learned your lesson now.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I hope so. I still, there are still days where I stop myself. Monday was one of them. It was nice out. I was working on a little project in the yard. And I had to stop myself and said, you know what? I haven't had a bottle of water in the last couple of hours. So I went down to a bottle of water, and to me, I can notice the difference. I mean,
and as we age, getting back to the old exercise thing, is you do dehydrate easier. So all the more reason. And not only are you worried about kidney stones, dehydration also contributes to kidney disease, aside from kidney stones. And the last thing you want later in life is kidney failure.
Absolutely. And I will say this. It's 8 o'clock. Just want to point out it is 8 a.m. You're listening to WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana. One more thing I want to point out this morning is when we go back to physical fitness and working out, as you mentioned before, it's strength training, it's aerobic training, it's all of those things. It's not the idea that you're going to go to, if you're listening to John Doherty this morning and you say, okay, well, I'm going to take John up on it, I'm going to go do strength training. That's great, but you still need to do some other training as well, whether it's walking or bicycling or something.
You need to balance. Yes.
You need to balance. You need to make sure. And again, study after study after study shows that it's not just keeping the weight off. It's keeping your muscles in tone and keeping your body in tone that basically is going to give you a much longer life.
I'll share one last thing from John, and it may surprise you, and there's the data to back it up, and he was quoting somebody else. It's more, after age 50, it's more important to build muscle than to lose fat.
There you go. There you have it. And John, any last comments or predictions on Notre Dame?
Irish by 3 against Texas A&M.
All right, Irish by 3 against Texas A&M. I agree with you. I think it's first off, last year they played them on the road
down there
in Texas.
Yep.
I think playing them at home is going to be a much better situation. Notre Dame always does well at home. No doubt about it. The crowd just gets into it, and it's amazing. It's an amazing atmosphere. I again, from what I saw, I just saw the last quarter, but from what I saw, it looked like they were a pretty decent team. And there's one last thing. I can't remember. Were you a fan of Brian Kelly or not?
I went to high school with Brian Kelly.
That's right. You went to high school with Brian Kelly.
He was 2 years behind me.
Yes. Well, I saw.
And I didn't answer your question, did I?
No, you didn't. I think you did. I think you implied it. I watched the LSU game and they won. And I was kind of hoping the other way.
It's the first time well, now I'm revealing the answer. It's the first time I ever rooted for Clemson in my life.
Well, you know what bothers me is that Kelly infers, at least in his comments, that he has something to do with the success that Notre Dame's having right now, and I don't buy that. I mean, look, yeah, he laid some groundwork, but Marcus Freeman, you got to give him a lot of credit.
This is Marcus Freeman's team.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, especially with the portal and everything else that's going on. It's Marcus.
This is year 4. It's Marcus's team.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. All right, there you have it. We got John to actually reveal something that Jed and I have been trying to get out of him for years. So there you have it, John Daugherty. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to open up the phone lines because we're going to be here until 8:30, and then we switch gears again to the Whiting-Robertsdale Chamber of Commerce. So get ready to call in now. The lines are open, 845-1100. It's the Morning Call with Tom Dabertin on WJOB. We'll be right back.